the 8-year-old boy who I first baptized at the very beginning of this service, and this is Carter's grandmother, and she just felt the nudge today. And she said, she looked at Carter and she said, you know what, if Carter can get baptized and have the courage to do so, I can as well. And so that spoke so powerfully to me. The courage and the bravery of an 8-year-old to say, you know what, today is my day. And I know that Jesus is my Lord and Savior, and I want to follow him for the rest of my life. And so I'm going to do it as an 8-year-old, and it inspired Marcia to come forward and to do it.
Not 8.
And it's
Anywhere
incredible.
near 8.
No, it's okay. It's okay. You're like 20, right? And so something like that. And so we're forever young. And so it's amazing. And so, Marcia, I want to ask you 2 questions. Have you made a decision to follow Jesus as your Lord and Savior?
Yes.
You have. And do you commit to following him for the rest of your life?
I do.
Awesome. And so in light of your confession, if you want to just cross your arms, in light of your confession, I want to baptize you. We want to baptize you in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit. Congratulations. Thanks for being here, everyone. We want to invite you all back to come to midweek this coming Wednesday. It's going to be fantastic. But have a great rest of your weekend, everyone.
special gifts. Take your time to be kind to one and all. Oh, it's that time of year when good friends are near, and you wish you could give more than just presents from a store. Why don't you give love on Christmas Day? Oh, even the man who has everything would be so happy if you would bring him love on Christmas Day. No greater gift is there than love. People you don't know, smiling out, hello, everywhere. There's an air of Christmas joy. It's that once up here when the world's sincere, and you wish you could find a way to show the things that words can't say. Why don't you give love on Christmas Day? Oh, the man on the street or the couple upstairs all need to know there's someone who cares. Give love on Christmas Day. No greater gift is there than love. What the world needs is love. Yes, the world needs your love. Why don't you give love on Christmas Day? Oh, every little child on Santa's knee has proof of love underneath the tree. Give love on Christmas Day. No greater gift is there than love.
All right, welcome everybody. How's everybody doing this morning? Good, awesome. Well, I'm excited about today. My name is Jalen Seawright. I'm the worship arts director here at our Troy campus. Want to say welcome to everybody on stream as well. Holidays are fastly approaching. That's why we just did a Christmas song. Some of you all are like, it's too early. But anyways, I'm excited about it. Next week being Thanksgiving, on yesterday morning, we all gathered at Harrington Elementary, one of our school partners, and we delivered over 1,700 Thanksgiving baskets to families in need. And over 400 of those baskets came right here from our Troy campus. So super excited about that. We can celebrate that together. Awesome. And speaking of the holidays, Christmas is coming up. We're almost a month away, just a couple days from being a month away from Christmas. And here at Kensington, Christmas is like full force. We go all out for it. We'll be having 51 services across all of our campuses. 11 of those services will be right here at our Troy campus. You can get your free tickets right now on the Kensington app, or you can also go online to kensingtonchurch.org. And if you're having trouble navigating the app or the website, somebody out at the hub right after the service would be more than willing to help you out with that. But like I said, our services, they fill up really quick, so I suggest you all go on there and get your free tickets as soon as possible. Well, we're celebrating Life Change today with baptisms. Andrew Kim's in the house. Give it up for Andrew. Awesome. Yeah, and in the vein of gratitude, that's what we'll be talking about today, but I'm super excited about where we're going. But before we go on with the rest of our services, I want you to stand on your feet and greet someone next to you.
right, y'all. Let's have a little fun with this one, all right? Yes. And if you know it, you can sing along too. I've been looking for hope, been looking for strength, been looking for someone that I can always call my friend. Guess I've been looking for you. I guess I've been looking for you.
I've been looking for peace, been looking for love, been looking for a rock that I can always lean on. Hey, guess I've been looking for you. Guess I've been looking for you.
Oh, 'cause so long I've wandered and roamed, searching for a place to call home. Just to find you've been there all along. Oh, Jesus, I've been looking for you. Hey, oh, yeah. Oh, yes, I have, Jesus. Mm. I guess I've been looking for you. Say it now. I've been looking for someone to call when I need help. Somebody in love me in spite of myself. I guess I've been looking for you. Hey, I guess I've been looking for you. I've been looking for joy. I've been looking for truth. I've been looking for purpose in all that I do. I guess I've been looking for you, for you. I guess I've been looking for you, you. 'Cause for so long I've wandered and roamed, just to find a place to call home. And just to find I've been here all along. 'Cause I've been looking for you. I've been looking for, I've been looking for, I've been looking for, I've been looking for you. Looking for you. Oh, yeah. Guess I've been looking for you.
Just put on my mic right now because I just came back from changing from our last baptisms. But that was an amazing song, and that song is perfect for where we're headed in the day today, because this is honestly one of my favorite weekends of the year, because we are celebrating baptisms. But at the same time, we're also going to be talking about gratitude today. And I can imagine for some of us here, our gratitude was tested getting here, because it was a surprise to us, and you guys know what I'm talking about, because it was a surprise to us today, but that intersection at John R. and Square Lake is closed, which meant that for some of you, it took a little bit longer to get here. And so we want to say thank you for persevering and being here. But at the same time, we also want to mention is that the exit, when we leave, that exit that goes out to John R. is closed. And when you go out Square Lake, the only option that we have is actually turn right towards Rochester Road. So just as a heads up to everyone. But this song is really a great, great song because it perfectly summarizes the stories of so many people who are getting baptized today. And everyone who's getting baptized is over here. So can we give them a huge hand? Awesome. And as I was reading your stories this week, the theme that kept on coming up over and over again, as we heard in this song, is that you all wrote and you all said that you had been looking for something, and something to hope in, something to trust, something to love. And then you met Jesus, and you realized that he was the one that you had been looking for the entire time. And it really, really spoke to me. So I'm so excited that you all are going to be getting in that tub and going to be baptized. And when I think about what's happening this weekend, I think it's the perfect weekend for this to happen, because of course this Thursday is Thanksgiving. And it can be a crazy time, it could be a hectic time, but it's also one of the most beautiful times of the year, because it's an opportunity for us to really be able to take a moment and to remember all the incredible things that God has done in our lives, and to say thank you. And it's really a beautiful, beautiful opportunity to do that. And so my hope is that for all of us, as we talk about gratitude today, it would remind us this week to take a moment and to do exactly that. But something else that I'm reminded of is that God is always at work in our lives. He's at work in your life as well as mine. And right now, we're gonna see a story, we're gonna see a video of a woman named Melissa, who is a part of our community right here at Troy, and how she encountered God in a powerful way about 1.5 years ago, and her journey since then. So let's take a look.
So, I'm not really a religious person. Never really have been. But I've always wanted to learn more. I would love to believe in Jesus. It's not that I flat out don't, I'm just super skeptical. Hi everyone, I'm Melissa. I'm 35 years old, a mother to 3 beautiful little girls, and a wife to an awesome guy. Welcome to my blog. I'm a pretty open book in, most aspects of my life. So I don't know why I felt this awkwardness or almost like embarrassment to share this aspect of my life. But I feel that once I did, once I put it all on social media, and I'm just like, let's be open, let's be vulnerable, let's just see what happens. I just want to be like completely authentic. This is not like the first time I've tried to seek the truth or my answers or God, Jesus, anything. I've been struggling this honestly since high school. Everything that is going on nowadays makes it even harder to know where to turn for sources on this stuff. I don't know. Anyone have any advice? Ideas? I got 151 responses. And do you know, of those 151 responses, how many were negative? 0. But there were 2 things that really stood out in those comments. Number 1, oh my gosh, Melissa, that's exactly how I feel. Oh my gosh, I'm going through that same thing. Please let me know what you find out. Blah, blah, blah. There's other seekers like me. And the other one was, check out Kensington, check out Kensington, check out Kensington. And I'm like, whoa, that's crazy. Like, I'm not kidding you, at least 35 comments were, go to Kensington. One of my friends actually goes to the Troy campus. Actually, she's like, Melissa, I'm telling you, message the lead pastor of the Troy campus, Danny Cox, and see if he'll meet with you. He's awesome. You might be really encouraged by talking to him. So I emailed him. I explained basically my life story to him. And I was like, can we meet for a couple minutes?
When I first met her, Melissa, I was taken with her right away because that's my journey. I saw myself in her. I had so many questions about Christ.
It took him, he said, 3 years to find Christ in his 30s. So I think, my gosh, if Danny Cox, the lead pastor of a large church, if it took him 3 years to find Christ, then you know what? I can do it too. The first service I went to at Kensington was the summer of 2018, and they were doing a series called Kensington at the Movies.
Today we're going to continue on in this series by looking at Black Panther.
And the one I went to was on Black Panther. And Andrew Kim was preaching, and the message was amazing, and it totally hit home because he talked about the Mahatma Gandhi quote, I like your Christ, but I do not like your Christians.
Your Christians are so unlike your Christ. hear that, it's like, ouch, that hurts, that cuts deep.
And I'm like, whoa. And the fact that Kensington recognized that, especially like on my first time there, it was really refreshing because I feel that a lot of churches just sweep that kind of stuff under the rug. Truthfully, the biggest issue I struggle with is Jesus really the Son of God? Another big question I have is there life after death? And it's really refreshing to know that here at Kensington, like, I'm not alone. Everybody doubts. Even like the Pope and Mother Teresa, they've had doubts. I didn't know that. That's crazy. Like, that makes me feel so good. So I've done a lot through Kensington. The first thing I did was I joined a course, Alpha. It just really made me open my eyes and think about things in ways I never had before. I went on a women's retreat through Kensington in the spring called Smash. I literally did all the workshops I could because I thought, you know what? I'm here by myself. I know no one. I'm here to learn.
All right, little girl, are you ready to go? And she's amazing. And just everybody I've come in contact with, not even the people who work here, just like the people that attend the service. I met 1 million people here that have been amazing. Nancy Worm, she's sort of like a mentor to me, and she's amazing.
She said, I'm turning 35. I need to answer this question. I need to figure out my faith, not just for myself, but for my family now. And I don't want to wait any longer. This is the year I'm going to learn everything I need to make this decision. Having that mission has really spurred her on to take step after step after step to answer the questions that she has. She wants to land this.
My heart is open and exploding. I feel so happy. Do I still identify as a seeker? Yes. My brain needs to catch up with my heart. I'm still in the beginning stages, maybe on like mile 10 of my 100-mile walk or whatever. But it doesn't bother me. I think once you take that leap of faith, once you take that leap and you jump off and you start your journey, you don't really care when it ends. You hear churches a lot, or people on the news or on TV, they have a lot of these aha moments when coming to Christ. But what I've learned is most people that find Christ, it's not this big aha moment. It's these little tiny things over the years. And I feel like that's me. I look at where I am now and I look at where I was like a year and a half ago, and I'm night and day difference, and it's amazing. My brain, the walls are coming down more, but it hasn't quite collapsed yet like I'd like it to. Does this blog resonate with you? Are you seeking? Come take this journey with me. They say a journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step. Take that first step. You will never regret the journey.
I remember that first meeting I had with Melissa. We met in the lobby and we sat down together, and she was so intense. She was searching for truth. We had a great conversation. I recommended one particular book. I think I actually even gave it to her, and she took it home and she wrote back. She's like, no, not this kind of book. I'm looking for this. So I gave her another one and she read through that, and it's been like that ever since. She is on a mission to find out who this person of Jesus is. And what I love about her, and I think it's true for all of us, we have questions and we have doubts about faith. Even myself, to this day, I still have questions and doubts, and I don't think God is up in heaven wringing his hands going, I don't know how to answer that question. I'm not sure what to do with that doubt. God knows. And what I love about our community is that we are creating a space where people can come in with their doubts, with their questions, and engage with Jesus and with his people. And so this year, I would invite you to make a year-end Christmas gift to Kensington. And as you do that, I want you to know something. You are investing in a space where people can bring all they have in their heart and present it to Jesus. And here's what I know about Jesus. After watching work for so long in our community, he will take our questions, he will take our doubts, he will draw us into himself, and he will transform lives.
And I love Melissa's story. And it's so incredibly powerful, definitely. And Melissa's right there. Melissa, you wanna put up your hand? I'm gonna put you on the spot. Awesome, can we give her a hand? Thank you for having the courage, and thank you for sharing so honestly. And I love your story. I've seen it like 3 times already, but every single time, something else hits me. And when I see Melissa's story, it just reminds me, this is what we at Kensington are all about. We're to see everyone transformed and mobilized by Jesus. That is our mission, and it's the heartbeat of this place, and it's one of the reasons why I love our community so much. And so as Danny mentioned in the video, I also want to ask, as we come to the end of the year, if we would consider giving a year-end gift. Because when we do, what it allows us as a community to do is to continue to reach and impact the lives of people, not just here in the Detroit metro area, but truly all around the world. And I got a glimpse of that, and many of us got a glimpse of it yesterday with the whole Thanksgiving baskets and all of that happened. And it is estimated that because of what happened yesterday, that we were able to impact the lives of almost 10,000 people here in this state, which is mind-blowing. But it's not just locally, it's also globally as well, because we are having an impact in places like India, South Sudan, Kenya, the Dominican Republic, Brazil, and so many other places, and reaching and impacting lives with the love and the transformative power of Jesus. And so as we come to the end of the year, we'd love for you to consider this. But at the same time, I also want to say thank you, because you all are some of the most generous people I have ever met in my life. And not just with your finances, but also with your skills and your time as well, which oftentimes can be an even more precious resource. And so thank you for choosing to live not like this, but like this, which is a difficult thing to do in our culture. And this Thursday, of course, we all know it's Thanksgiving. And how many of you are big fans of Thanksgiving? It's your favorite holiday of the year. Awesome. Many of us. And I love Thanksgiving. It ranks right up there for me with Canada Day. And I love Thanksgiving probably for the same reasons that many of you do, because of football, food, friends, and family, and not necessarily in that order. But Thanksgiving really marks the beginning of one of the craziest times of the year, because we hit Thanksgiving and we're off to the races, and before we know it, we're saying Happy New Year. Because there are all the things that we have to buy, all the shopping that needs to happen. And studies tell us that in the next few weeks, for many of us, we will buy more stuff than we will have bought in the previous 11 months. And there's good reason for that, because there are a lot of deals to be had. And we also have to buy all the Christmas gifts. And we can't just buy any Christmas gift. We have to buy the right one for our children, for our husband or our wife, our parents, grandparents, cousins, aunts and uncles, coworkers, neighbors, garbage person, mail person. The list keeps on getting longer every single year. And then we have to go out and find the right Christmas tree, and we gotta bring it back home, set it up, decorate it. Many of us, we risk our lives every single year climbing on our roof and putting up Christmas lights. And then of course, there's the awkward Christmas party, which everyone loves. And it's even more awkward when we have to go to our spouse's Christmas party and we find ourselves in the corner talking to the weird guy every single year. And if things aren't stressful enough, they let the kids out of school. Right? Who does that? Why would you do that? And then there's the family that comes to town, the family vacation to go see the in-laws, and we all know that's not stressful. And so studies tell us that we are entering into one of the busiest and most stressful times of the year. And so this is what so oftentimes Christmas and Thanksgiving has become. And honestly, as I was saying all that, I was looking at your faces, and for some of you, I could see your blood pressure and your stress level rising as you're thinking about, oh my goodness, I can't believe I have to do all this stuff. And now you're sitting there like this, all the type A people. Aren't you glad you came to church today? Exactly, it's so relaxing and refreshing and freeing, right? And so the question that I want to ask all of us is, how do we want to move through the holiday season this year? Do we want to be stressed, anxious, exhausted, and completely depleted come 2020? And I can't imagine anyone's like, yeah, sign me up for that life. But I can imagine that all of us, we want to be able to breathe and be able to experience more of the wonder and the beauty of the season. And if that is you, I want to remind all of us of a practice that will not only change the way that we experience Thanksgiving and Christmas this year, but really it has the power to transform our lives if we continue to do it, by connecting us in a greater way to the timeless, to the sacred,
and the profound. And it's the practice of gratitude. And we see how powerful gratitude is in the Gospel of Luke in the New Testament, in an interaction that Jesus had with 10 men. And this is what it says. Now, on his way to Jerusalem, Jesus traveled along the border between Samaria and Galilee. And as he was going into a village, 10 men who had leprosy met him. And they stood at a distance and called out in a loud voice, "Jesus, Master, have pity on us." And chances are good that none of us here in this room or watching on stream have ever had leprosy. And that's a good thing because it's not exactly the best disease to contract. And it's a disease that modern medicine has largely eradicated. But back in Jesus' day, there was no cure. And people also believed that it was highly contagious. And what leprosy does to our bodies is that when someone has leprosy, you lose sensation in your nerve endings, which means that you can't feel anything. So for a leper, their hand could be on fire and they wouldn't know it. And in advanced cases of the disease, a person's fingers and toes could even fall off. And so back in Jesus' day, when a person found out that they had leprosy, it would have been the worst day of their life because it meant that moving forward, they wouldn't be able to hug their children or sleep next to their husband or their wife. It meant that they couldn't go to the temple to connect with God. They would be pushed out of society. This is how they would have to spend the rest of their life. And so what it meant was that if you were a leper, you had to endure physical pain from the disease, emotional pain from being rejected by the people around you, as well as a spiritual pain from not being able to go to the temple to worship God. And this was the situation for these 10 men. They were outcasts. And so they found each other and they created their own community. And one day, Jesus was walking down the street, and these guys saw Jesus, and they knew who Jesus was. They had heard all the incredible stories about what he had done, how he had healed people of terrible diseases. And so they called out to him, "Jesus, Master, have pity on us," because they recognized that he was their only hope. It's sort of similar like if we were on a deserted island, and we saw and we heard a plane coming towards us, we would do anything and everything we could to get that pilot's attention, understanding that he or she was our only hope. Same thing was happening here. And this was Jesus' response to their cries. Then he saw them and he said, "Go show yourselves to the priests." And as they went, they were cleansed. And the priest, back in Jesus' day, the priest's job wasn't just to lead the people in worship, but he was also sort of like a health inspector. In that if you had a disease and you thought you were cured, you first had to go to the priest, and the priest would inspect you, and if everything was good, he would then give you a clean bill of health, and then you were allowed to rejoin society. And so Jesus tells these guys, hey, go and see this person to have that inspection. And the crazy thing is that they went, which was a huge step of faith, because some scholars believe that this journey to go and see the priest would have taken about 2.5 to 3 days. And so they still had leprosy. They weren't cured. And so they went believing that somewhere, somehow, somewhere along the way to the priest that they would be healed. And I can imagine as they were walking that one of the guys, this is how I pictured it in my head, that one of the guys, he started feeling a sensation in his hands, something that he hadn't felt in years. Then another of them looked down at his feet and saw that one of his toes that had been missing for years had grown back. I can imagine another guy looked at the person beside him and saw that the ear that had been missing for so long was suddenly there again. And then they started looking at their skin and noticing that it was being healed, it was coming back. And that at some point along the journey, they recognized that they had been restored. And if you were one of these 10 men, how would you have felt? And I was thinking about this past week. I would have been thrilled. I would have been ecstatic, going out of my mind. Because what it meant for these 10 guys was that they could go home again. They could hug their children. They could kiss their husband or their wife. It meant that they could go to the temple again and worship and connect with God. It meant that they could do the things that they had always wanted to do. Go to their favorite restaurant, go bowling, who knows what they wanted to do. But it meant that they could go back to their normal life. And so what this meant was, and I can imagine for these guys, once they figured out, I am healed, they didn't just keep walking. They started all out sprinting towards this guy because they had wasted enough time being locked up. And they were thinking, I want to get back to the people that I love. But then this happened. One of them When he saw he was healed, came back praising God in a loud voice, he threw himself at Jesus' feet and thanked him. And he was a Samaritan. The reason why it's important to understand that this guy was a Samaritan was that how Jews viewed Samaritans at the time was that they viewed them as second-class citizens, as enemies, as half-breeds, who basically followed a knockoff religion. But this guy, I can imagine, he's sprinting towards this priest just like everyone else. And he stops and he says, "Wait, guys, wait." And I can imagine these other guys saying, why are you stopping? What are we waiting for? And I can imagine the Samaritan saying, "You know what, I gotta go back. I gotta do something. I gotta say thank you to Jesus." And if I was one of the 9 guys, I probably would have said to this guy, "Hey, you know what, just send him a text. Jesus will understand." But he didn't, and he turned around and he went back. And when he found Jesus, it says that he collapsed at his feet. And I can also picture him having tears just streaming down his face. And I can imagine him saying to Jesus, "Thank you, thank you. You've connected me back to my family. You've connected me back to God. You've connected me back to life." And Jesus' response to this man was, "Were not all 10 cleansed?" He asked him several questions. "Where are your other 9 friends? Has no one returned to give praise to God except this foreigner?" And there's this sort of this sense of surprise from Jesus. He says, "Didn't I heal all 10 of you? Weren't all 10 of your lives changed? Why are you the only one?" And there was something unique that this Samaritan did that we just read. And so the question that we have to ask is, what was different about this Samaritan, different about what he did? It wasn't that he was grateful, because all 10 of them were grateful. Imagine being these guys for years, being locked out of society, being told you can't go near people, and now having a second lease on life. So all 10 were grateful. That wasn't what was different about this Samaritan. What was different about this Samaritan wasn't that he was grateful, but he actually came back to express his gratitude to Jesus. Because gratitude that's simply felt isn't worth a whole lot unless it moves us to express it in some manner. And we may think that we get it, but for most of us, including myself, we don't. Because if we did, we would move throughout our day continually expressing either verbally or written form, whatever it is, we would continually use those 2 magical words, "Thank you." Not only to the people around us, but also to God. Because this is what's so important to understand about gratitude. Gratitude that's not expressed is not experienced. And worse yet, when someone actually does something kind for us and we don't express our gratitude, many times that can be experienced by the other person as rejection or even entitlement. It can come across as, "You know what? I don't have to say thank you to you. I deserve that. Did you say thank you to your mom today? Now, why would I say thank you to her? She's supposed to do that for me. She's my mom. Did you say thank you to that person on your team who's been working so hard this week? Why should I say thank you to him? He gets paid to do that. He's just lucky I hired him. He's just lucky that I kept him on." It's not enough to feel it. We have to express it. Regardless of whether we're an introvert or an extrovert, regardless of whether we feel comfortable expressing our emotions or not, we have to figure out a way to get the gratitude that we feel in here out to the people who we're actually grateful for. And this past Wednesday, at our Troy staff meeting, at the very end, before anyone left, we were asked to go up to 3 different people and express our appreciation and gratitude for them. And I knew this would be awkward for me. I knew this would push me out of my comfort zone because I am not comfortable expressing or receiving emotion. And so the very first person that I went up to was Michael King, who's our music director. You see him up here on most weeks. And Michael is one of the most talented people I know. He has done some incredible things in his life, traveled all around the world, but you would never know it because he's also one of the most humble people I've ever met. And so I went up to him and I said this to him, and the whole time, couldn't look him in the eye. I was looking at the wall right behind him. I know what you're thinking. You need some professional help. And you're probably right, I do. But that's a completely different topic. But I knew the people on our staff. And I knew that I wasn't the only one who was uncomfortable. But as a group, as a staff, as we did this, I could feel something powerful not only happen in my heart, but also in the room. And that as we stepped out of our comfort zone and we expressed our gratitude towards one another, what happened was that we were reminded of the beauty in one another, the image of God in one another. As we did this, our love and appreciation increased. And as people, we were drawn together. Because when we have the courage to express our gratitude, beautiful things are able to occur. So when we look at our lives, who is someone who we take for granted? Maybe even as we look back at our day, at our morning, as we look back at our weekend, or even our week. Are we reminded of someone who did something incredibly kind for us, but we never expressed gratitude to them? What if tomorrow when we get back into the office, we actually took a few moments and wrote a note? And I'm not talking about text, but a handwritten note. Picked up the phone and called them, or even better yet, spend a few moments and sat down with them to say thank you. And my guess is that if we did that, something beautiful would result. And that's what this Samaritan man did. And as a result, as we're going to see in the last verse, Jesus pronounced something powerful over him. But before we actually get there, before we actually look at our last verse, I'm going to invite the ushers forward to receive our offering. And let me say that if you are a guest here with us, I want to say welcome. I'm so glad that you are here. But please don't feel any obligation to give. But if you would like to give, there are a lot of different ways that you can do so. The offering bags are coming around, and we also have online options. You can give via our website, which Robin and I do. You can give via our app, or you can text the word Kensington to 77977 as well. But if you are somebody who is a guest, we'd love to meet you, love to connect with you. So if you have a moment after the service, we have something out in the lobby called the Hub, and you'll see people out there. They have bright orange shirts on. We'd love to meet you, answer any questions that you may have, and also tell you a little bit more about our community. But this is the very last verse in this passage, and this is what Jesus said to this Samaritan man who came back to express his gratitude. Then Jesus said to him, "Rise and go. Your faith has made you well." And in this passage, there are two words that are contrasted, two words that are juxtaposed. And it's the two words in the Greek that are translated. The first word is the word that's translated cleansed. And it's used back in verse 14. And the second word is the word made well that we just read. But back in verse 14, sort of to jog our memories, this is what Jesus said to these 10 guys, 10 lepers. "Go show yourselves to the priest." And as they went, they were cleansed. And what it means to be cleansed here is to be healed of a physical disease, which in this case was leprosy. And all 10 of them were cleansed. But when this one Samaritan man came back to Jesus to express his gratitude, Jesus said to him, "You have been more than cleansed. What has happened to you is that you have been made well." And what it means to be made well is to be made whole, to be made complete. And so Jesus was saying, because you came back and you expressed your gratitude, you have experienced healing at a deeper level. Your healing isn't just simply skin deep. You haven't just experienced a physical healing, but rather a spiritual healing. Because for this Samaritan man, his eyes were now open to the full reality of who Jesus was. And he had experienced something even greater. His heart was awakened to the deeper reality beyond this life. There was a transformation, a deeper transformation that happened in this man. He was made whole, he was made complete, he was made more. He took a step towards becoming more the person who God created him to be. Because that's the power of gratitude. That's what happens when we express our appreciation. Because the second truth that is so important to hold on to today is that gratitude or appreciation produces transformation in our lives. It is that powerful. And you don't have to believe me. You don't even have to believe what the Bible says about this. Rather, there are so many studies that have been done in the past few years, in the past few decades, that talk about the power of gratitude. That when we express it, there is something amazing that happens in us. And I read a ton of those studies this week, and it said that so many of these studies said that gratitude can reduce feelings of anxiety and depression. It reduces fatigue and inflammation, reducing the risk of heart disease. It decreases stress. It promotes generosity and also increases self-esteem and feelings of compassion. A study that I actually heard about 2 weeks ago said that when we practice gratitude for 5 minutes a day, just 5 minutes a day, and you can write in a gratitude journal, you can go around saying thank you, but when we express our gratitude for 5 minutes a day, it has the same effect on our long-term well-being and happiness as if we were to get a raise, a doubling of our salary. So imagine if you went to work tomorrow and maybe you're a bad example because you're an intern and so you're raising your support. And so nevertheless, Kurt, and so, but say you go into work tomorrow and say your boss says to you, hey, you know what? You have been doing such a great job that I'm gonna double your salary. And say you make $50,000, but now you make $100,000. Imagine the increase in happiness that you would experience. And it says, what the study says is that when we practice gratitude for just 5 minutes a day, this is what happens, and this is what we can experience. This is the transformative power of gratitude. And the reason why this is able to happen is really, at least for me, when I came across this, is summed up beautifully in one definition of gratitude that I came across, and it's from a pastor out of New York City named Rich Villodas, and this is how he defines gratitude. He says, gratitude is an understanding that we are recipients of goodness and constantly coming back to the source of that goodness. It's not only recognizing that we have incredible gifts, that we have received incredible gifts. There are good things that have happened in our lives. Not only recognizing that, but taking it one step further and acknowledging the source of that goodness, which is God. Because what the scriptures tell us is that it tells us that every good and perfect gift comes from God. And that looking back and recognizing that these things haven't happened just because we're incredible people, but rather because of the presence of God in our lives and because he loves us and he loves to give good things to his children and acknowledging him. And whenever we orient ourselves in a greater way towards God and begin to move towards him, beautiful things are able to happen in our lives. We become more whole, we become more complete, we become more of the people who God has created us to be. And this is exactly what the Samaritan man did. And that he not only recognized this amazing thing that had happened in his life, but he returned and he went back to Jesus to recognize and acknowledge the source of that goodness. And he worshiped him. And that's exactly what you all are doing today in getting baptized. Because what has happened in your life, and I know you know this, is that you have received an incredible gift, the gift, something incredibly good in your life. And in getting baptized today, you are coming back and you are recognizing the source of your goodness. And that's why baptism is a lot of things, but one of the things that it is, it's an act of worship. And that's why it's so beautiful. And one of the people that is getting baptized today is a new friend of mine named Tessa. And Tessa has a powerful, powerful story. And she's getting baptized at our noon service. But she agreed to share her story at all of our services. And so Tessa, I want to invite you up. And so as she comes up, can we give her a huge hand? Hey, thanks so much for being here.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so you have a great story. And when I read your story, I was immediately struck by it. But one of the things that really jumped out to me is that you said that for years, for the longest time, you were searching for something, but yet you didn't know what it was or where to find it. And so I'd love for you to share with us a little bit more of that journey and just really what you experienced.
Yeah, so I was baptized as an infant. I grew up in a Christian community at a Lutheran school. So I learned about God, but I learned about him as a fearful God or a very distant God or a God that you would have to face if you did something wrong more so. So I kind of strayed away from it in my younger adult years. And I always felt this like hole or emptiness in me. And I was constantly trying to fill it with whatever I thought could fill the emptiness. So I tried filling it with alcohol to numb the pain. I tried finding any person that I thought could give me a quick solution or quick fix. And it led me to being in an abusive relationship for 2.5 years that resulted in assault that had to be taken to court and dealt with for about half a year. And I was devastated at this point. The thought of Christianity and the thought of church came into my mind, but I knew I was like so broken at that point. I was like, what kind of God would ever want somebody like me in their church?
And so you're feeling all of this, and you decide to come to one of our services, a midweek service, and I can understand. This is how you're feeling. This is how you view God, and you step in here, and you're really nervous. But you encountered God in a powerful way at that service, and then it really started you on a journey where you met Jesus and said, yes, you know what? I want to follow you. So I'd love for you to share with us more about that.
Yeah, so I came to midweek. My boyfriend at the time, now fiance, suggested it because I was so anxious and worried about being judged coming into the community. And he told me midweek is such a relaxing time, and it's all focused on music, and it's just a really comfortable vibe. So I was still nervous going in, but they showed a video at the very beginning, and the first sentence the girl said was, I was anxious and nervous about being judged here, but I found a home in Kensington. And I instantly knew I was meant to be at this service, and that was meant for me to hear. So I kept coming, and then things kept opening up for me. I met godly people, opportunities came, and I saw a change in me starting to form.
Absolutely. And so you, in the past several weeks, you felt like sort of this nudge, right? It's like, and just hearing about baptism, you're like, maybe I should be baptized, maybe I should be baptized. But really what clinched it for you is something amazing that happened 2 weeks ago in this room on a Sunday morning. So love for you to tell us more about that.
Yeah. So it was the last prayer of the service, and Danny Cox told everyone to bow their heads. And I bowed my head, closed my eyes, and folded my hands. And with my eyes closed, I could see God's hands forming around my hands. And I could feel this overwhelming sense of joy, to the sense where I was almost brought to tears. And it was just such an overwhelming experience that I walked out of that church and I knew I need to get baptized at the next possible chance.
And so today is your chance, right? Today is your day. And so thanks so much for being here. Thanks so much for sharing your story with us. That's so cool. And I love the fact that Tessa talks about these nudges, and she felt like sort of this nudge, this sort of push, this gentle push, and God's saying to her, hey, you know what? Today is your day. And honestly, for some of us here, today may be our day. And that you battled that whole intersection out there, and you persevered, and you got here, right? And you're like, yay! And I'm just gonna be here, and I'm gonna take in this service, and then I'm gonna go home, and I'm gonna take a right turn on Square Lake and move towards Rochester Road, like all of us are gonna do. All right? But this is what you may have thought. But God may have a different plan for you today. In that he may have, even as we've been talking, he may have been nudging you and saying, hey, you know what? Today is your day. And even at the 9 a.m. service, I don't even know how many people, 4, 5, 6 people who felt that nudge and came forward. And if that is you, I want to invite you. I'm going to provide you with an opportunity later on, after everyone is baptized. I'm going to invite anyone else who is feeling that nudge to come forward. And don't worry, we have towels, we have t-shirts for you. But if you are feeling that today, I want to invite you to take that steps to say yes to God and to recognize that and to get in that tub, and we will baptize you today. And as people are getting baptized today, something that's really important for us to understand about baptism is an external, visible symbol of an internal, invisible reality. And that word symbol is so important because there's nothing magical that happens in the water. But rather, what baptism is, in baptism, when someone is baptized, it doesn't make them a Jesus follower, but it's symbolic of the fact that they already are. Baptism is publicly declaring that we have made that decision to follow Jesus. And because when someone is immersed in the water, it's symbolic of the fact that their old life, that life before they met Jesus, has been buried in the ground. And then when that person is brought back up out of the water, it represents the new life that they have, that we have in Jesus. And so that is what we are declaring when someone is baptized. And so that's why we celebrate. That's why it's so powerful. That's why we cheer. Because we have been given this incredible gift. And when you think about it, with the whole lepers and the story that we looked at today, that's exactly what happened as well. And that they had this incredible sense of gratitude because they were given new life. They had this old life, and then they met Jesus, and their life was transformed in a powerful way. And that's what the people who are getting baptized are declaring as well. Life change. No longer old creation, but now who I am in Jesus is somebody completely new. And so what we're going to do is we're going to pray in a moment. And then we're going to take in a song that talks about how God makes a new way for us in our life when we choose to follow him. And then we're going to just celebrate life change, and people are going to get baptized. And so let's bow our heads and let's pray. So God, we thank you. We thank you that you love us so much. And thank you that you give us, as your children, you give us good things. But we pray, Lord, that we would not only recognize these gifts, but we would also recognize you as the giver. That you are the one, Lord, who is a source of all of these things. And that this week, especially as we're moving towards Thanksgiving, that we would return to you just like the Samaritan leper did, and to acknowledge that you are the source of these things and to say thank you. And we also want to say thank you today for everyone who's getting baptized. Thank you for the extraordinary things that you have done in their lives and transformed them in an incredible way. Thank you that we as a community can celebrate. Thank you that we as a community can witness this today. And I also want to pray, Lord, if there's anyone here who is feeling that nudge, Lord, I pray that you would give them the courage to really take that step and to come forward. And so we thank you and we pray these things in your son's name. Amen.
Lord, we know you to be a way maker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. Oh, you're a way maker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. 'Cause you are here, you're turning lives around. I worship you, I worship you. Lord, you are here, you're worshipers, I worship you. Jesus, you are here. I'm asking you to mend every broken heart. Put it back together, Jesus. I worship you. I worship you.
Life before Christ. I would say I've always had a belief in something greater, just not in any great definition. In my childhood years, I attended church occasionally with friends, but never had any understanding of the Bible. It really was just for skate parties or group events with my buddies. Fast forward 15 to 20 years, and I'm in my mid-30s and have been divorced for a couple years with children. That's when I listened to a motivational type sermon I came across on YouTube. It really felt like it was speaking to me. So I started to listen occasionally while working. A few bad relationships later, I found myself in my car one night so upset and frustrated with life. No one to talk to, so I pulled off to the side of the road. Just began shouting to God, all of my stresses, all of my questions at the top of my lungs. Overwhelmed with emotion, just letting it all out on Him. When I was done, this sense of calm came over me. From that day forward, I continued to talk with God, and some of the most amazing things started happening in my life. I was feeling better, and things were getting better. My relationship with God had started. I also began a new relationship with a girlfriend who loved God as I was learning to. And things have just continued to grow for me. Since then, I've joined a men's group to learn more about the Bible, and I still have a ton of questions. But all of this has brought me to this point in my journey where I feel I'm confident and ready to publicly declare myself to God with this baptism.
Hello. Is this good? Okay. Before Christ, I was always focused on the wrong things and letting fear rule it all. Little did I know what was going on. It wasn't until I finally answered an altar call at 21, 24 now, just turned 24. I could feel the Lord tugging at my soul each Sunday that I went, but I'd never let myself go until then. Ever since I've made that decision, I've grown stronger in my faith, and I know that He has more for me. This is my moment to declare my life to God, a chance to be bold and stand confident and strong, knowing He's always with me, and I'm ready to follow Him for the rest of my life. Thank you.
I was baptized at the age of 12, but I kept my faith in a box, and I didn't live it. I knew the facts, but I didn't have a saving faith. I started to examine myself after reading the Bible more, particularly through some challenging passages. Matthew chapter 7 was one of these that really shook me, when Jesus said, Many will say to me in that day, Lord, Lord, have we not prophesied in thy name, and in thy name cast out devils, and in thy name done many wonderful works? And then I will profess unto them, I never knew you. Depart from me, ye that work iniquity. I'm not sure about you, but I don't have any of these things on my resume. What am I missing here? I realized Jesus was telling me, you say you believe, but you need to build a relationship with me. It awakened my faith in such a way that it has forever changed how I live every day. I now know whom I have placed my faith in. Today, I rededicate myself to follow Jesus Christ as Lord of my life.
I've always had a hard time connecting with Jesus, and I was almost ready to give up, until I went to the Wild Retreat this past October. Every service touched me, and I finally felt the touch of Jesus Christ. I wanted to get baptized again after talking to my youth group leader, and I met the most amazing people on that trip, and I'm so happy I got to go and reconnect with God.
up very, very soon. But as I mentioned, if anyone here in this room feels that nudge, and you feel like, you know what, today is my day. As we're baptizing people, I want you to invite you to come forward and to go to your right, my left, and there are a bunch of people here who will receive you and will help you and hear your story, pray for you. And so we'd love for you to come forward if you feel like, you know what, this is what God is asking me to do. And so we'd love for you to respond to that nudge today.
You give life, you are love, you bring light to the darkness, you give hope, you restore every heart that is broken. Great are you, Lord. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise. We pour out our praise. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise to you only. Great are you, Lord. You give life, you are love, you bring light to the darkness, you give hope, you restore every heart that is broken. Great are you, Lord. It's your breath. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise, pour out our praise. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise to you. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise. We pour out our praise to your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise to you only. All the earth will shout your praise. Our hearts will cry. These bones will sing. Great are you, Lord. Sing all the earth. All the earth will shout your praise. Our hearts will cry. These bones will sing. Great are you, Lord. All the
amazing grace. Great are you, Lord. Great are you, Lord. Great are you, Lord.
Can I give you a hug?
Oh, I heard 1,000 stories of what they think you're like, but I heard the tender whispers of love in the dead of night. And you tell me that you're pleased and that I'm alone. You're a good, good Father. It's who you are. It's who you are. It's who you are. And I'm loved by you. It's who I am. It's who I am. It's who I am. Oh, and I see many searching for answers far and wide, but I know we're all searching for answers only you provide, 'cause you know just what we need before we say a word. You're a good, good Father. It's who you are. It's who you are. It's who you are. And I'm loved by you. It's who I am. It's who I am. It's who I am. You're a good, good Father. It's who you are. It's who you are. It's who you are. And I'm loved by you. It's who I am. It's who I am. It's who I am. Lord, you are perfect in all of your ways. You are perfect in all of your ways. You are perfect in all of your ways to us. Whoa, you are perfect in all of your ways. You are perfect in all of your ways. You are perfect in all of your ways to us. Oh, it's love so undeniable. I can hardly speak. Peace so unexplainable. I can hardly think as you call me deeper still as you call me deeper still as you call me deeper still into love. As you call me deeper still as you call me deeper still as you call me deeper
phenomenal morning. It's been a phenomenal service. I think we can all agree. And so we're going to continue to baptize people, but we want to release you to go and pick up the children, to navigate whatever is out there in traffic. And so, but something that we want to do is we want to invite you to come to midweek because it's going to be a powerful service. So we'd love to see you this Wednesday at 7 o'clock and to also come back next week as we're kicking off a new series called Brave. And so thanks so much for being here, everyone, and have a great rest of your weekend.